Hey everyone, rather Incoherent here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, but kind of the same. There's been a challenge run posted in the subreddit to form the Fylkirate as early as possible in the 769 start, and that's kind of the campaign that we're currently running. There are only two conditions for this run. The first is that it has to be played on Iron Man, and the second is that the Fylkirate has to be your primary title. And the Fylkirate being your primary title means that you have to be a duke, you cannot become a king, otherwise the Fylkirate would be a duchy level title, which you wouldn't be able to make your primary title as a king. These conditions really aren't that bad at all. Not being a king restricts your casus belli a bit. As a tribal pagan, you still have plenty of them though. Your counts can get out from under you by conquering a duke, which is annoying if you're trying to get within the 20-year time limit, but I'm not trying to do that. I've been smashing my head into this one for a while now, because I'm trying to do it basically as fast as possible. And if we're doing it as fast as possible, your counts can't really break away from you. They don't have time to go wage successful wars against dukes on their own, because the game should kind of end before that could theoretically happen. Oh, and two more things before we finally get on with the show. We're doing it in post-commentary this time as opposed to live commentary. Usually I do live commentary, but after around the 7th or 8th run, I kind of gave up on that. We're on run 30 or 40 something right now, and yeah, it's hard to do good commentary when you've been talking for that long about the same exact things. So we're gonna have to do it in post this time, sorry about that. And the other thing, a quick disclaimer, this is in no way meant to be indisputable proof that I completed this on Iron Man. I'm not concerned about proving that. I want this to be a good video like all my other videos, so I'm going to be heavily editing it down. So getting into the run proper, we picked Fylkirate, and we'll get into why once I have a moment to breathe. I immediately assigned Upland as my crown focus, there's nowhere else that's really competing with it. I immediately joined the Wolf Warriors because Berserker is amazing, plus personal combat, plus martial, those are pretty much the only traits we care about. For the same reason I'm taking the war focus, and I'm making my ambition to become King of Sweden so that I can use the subjugation casus belli on pretty much everyone. Also, I divorced my wife. She's going to get pregnant at some point, which is going to cost me piety or money for all the events, and I don't have any to spare on either of those. If you've watched my previous campaign, what I'm doing now isn't weird. I did this exact same thing in the Miklagard campaign. I'm dialing literally everyone because I can take them. And a big part of why I can take them is because they're not on the same side, they're not allies. So what they're going to do is they're just going to sort of sit in their counties and wait to die. So I'm about to assign all of my counselors to their jobs, but none of them really matter. Spy and Chancellor in particular are basically useless. I'm going to have my Steward and my Priest attempt to generate event troops, and I'm going to have my Marshal generate, or train troops rather. But honestly, all of them have very little impact, and their primary functions are to keep powerful vassals appeased, so that when I call them to war, they'll actually show up. So pretty much as soon as I actually unpause the game, I'm going to have my Wolf Warrior duel. And this is a win, but I get wounded. And unless you get a convincing win, you get 100 renown. If you get a convincing win, you start with enough renown, to go Berserk immediately. And Berserker is amazing. It's something like plus 25 personal combat and plus 4 martial, it's great. And I don't convincingly win, so I only have 100 now. And this is one of the biggest mistakes I make. I completely forget to ever actually go back and go Berserk once I've built up enough renown. It just never crosses my mind in this run. Which is a damn shame, because it would have made a lot of things later on in this run a lot safer and a lot less lucky that they worked. I don't know how much my mistakes actually impact my time. I get obscene RNG at the end of this run, and because of that my time is just fucking ludicrous. And here, I'm just picking Slothful because it's a lower chance of a bad trait. And more importantly, it's a lower chance. There's no chance of a trait that lowers my health. Pretty much anything that says chance to randomly die is something that I steer hard away from, because there's already a lot of conditions where I reset the run. And these wars aren't super complicated. Like, as you watch them play out, you can just see, like, oh, he's standing in the county doing nothing. Oh, 400 guys think that they can siege this down next to my 1700 stack. Things like that. So I'm going to, like, explain a lot of my general thoughts about the challenge now, while we just brutally murder all of these single county counts. And Metal Pad, they're technically not a single county count. They're not much better, but they're not a single county count. Anyway, while we're murdering all of these people, I figure it's a good time to actually explain some stuff about the challenge. So, like any speedrun, there are conditions where you just randomly fail this one. Because if you're trying to go as fast as possible, certain things just aren't. One of those conditions is if, I think it's called Irminsul, the holy site down in Saxony can be conquered by Catholics and pillaged. That's minus 5% moral authority, which is basically run dead, because getting that back is going to cost you a lot of time. Likewise, Saxony itself can't be conquered because it's a kingdom, so conquering it would disqualify you. And that means that if Saxony conquers Sealand, that's game over too. But right now you can see that I'm looking at Sealand because this is when I realized this is a live run. This run actually exists and we can really play it out. Because Sealand has went to war with Västergötland. Sealand has to conquer somebody with Swedish territory so that you get Casus Belli against them via the subjugation Casus Belli for becoming the King of Sweden. Alternatively, somebody in Sweden can conquer Sealand, but that's much less likely. And once we confirm that's actually happened, I go back to my work. It's like, oh, thank God, we can actually play this one out. And a lot of runs, you get things like Sealand has declared a subjugation war against Saxony. And that's sort of just a run over. You can't get the fastest time unless Sealand has a subjugation Casus Belli without you doing any extra work. Zealand, rather. I don't know why I'm pronouncing it Sealand. I'm an idiot. That's why. The third big reset condition, as I was saying, is if you're able to conquer Zealand in only one war. Really, any third holy site will do, but Zealand is the most believable because you can't conquer Saxony or France. Not really. Those aren't winnable wars. It's sad to watch, right? Looking at all these poor single county counts just get murdered by Sweden. They never stood a chance. Like, every time I play as a single county count in Norway, I'm just terrified that Sweden's going to do exactly this, and they never do, and I never really understand why. So I've been talking a lot about how you lose, not how you win. So what are the win conditions? We need 3 holy sites. We start with one in Upland, the last one's in Nidaros, and we've been talking about Zealand down in the Danish duchy. So we need to conquer all 3 of those. We can't realistically take the ones from Saxony or France. We also need 50% moral authority to reform the faith. And we start at 45%. So to get the remaining 5%, you need to win 5 conquest wars, pillage 5 foreign temples, or any combination of mixing and matching those two. And it doesn't have to be you. Other people can do this as well. In this run, I think that 1% moral authority comes from Saxony conquesting something, but I can't quite remember. The last big bottleneck, and this one is massive, is that you need... God, that is a hell of a noise. Apparently some random kid died of rabies in this run. I'm glad this is the one we're uploading. The final bottleneck you need for reforming the faith is you have to get to 750 piety, which is a pretty big bottleneck for anyone except Svithjad, and that's why Svithjad is so fucking good. Subjugation wars give you 100 piety each, and Svithjad has access to more of them than anyone else. You need to do almost nothing extra to hit 750 piety as Svithjad. You just conquer everyone, as I've been doing. And of course, I guess this is a bottleneck worth mentioning. You need to be able to beat either Zealand, France, or Saxony in a war. That's not optional. You have to beat someone big in a war. And starting as Svithjad, that's kind of hard to do, because you start off smaller than all 3 of them. Here you can see that we immediately go into a conquest war versus Suomi, and we're doing this to burn time. All of our vassals right now are weak, and we have some other objectives besides just getting to Zealand. I've been laying them out for you. So winning that conquest war gets us 1% moral authority, and possibly more importantly, it gets us land. We're not going to use that land, we're going to give it away for friendship. And we're going to be doing the same thing with the land that we're about to conquer. We're going to be giving it away to convince people that they should really help us in our wars. Because the levies it would give us are nothing. But it can convince somebody with 1,000 levies to come help us, and that's far more valuable to us. This campaign it's going to be like 4 years. We don't have long-term goals. We divorced our wife with 1 kid. We're making terrible decisions in terms of a real campaign. These 2 conquests that we're declaring right now are going to get us to 2% moral authority. And we only need 5%. Or rather, it's going to get us to 47%, and we only need 50%. And this war should be a lot faster than it ultimately ends up being. Because, as you can see, their army's just sort of leaving. It's going north. And I'm not sure what triggered the AI to think that this was the play. It's sort of a sick joke. So here I'm sieging down their capital, wondering what the hell they're doing. And in the top left you can see them. They've walked all the way around the Baltic Sea and they're coming back in from the north. We're at 99% war score, he won't accept, and his army has run away to avoid losing to me. It's like he knows I'm on a speed run. And I don't know what the difference in this 99% and the last one is, but he's willing to accept now. So, both of those counties I just sieged down are actually counties with temples in them. So as soon as I do this, I immediately split my army, set both of them to pillage, and head back to both counties, because once I pillage down those 2 temples, that's the last 2% moral authority we need, or rather, it's 4 out of 5% that we need. because there's still 1% that we don't actually know if we need to get ourselves, because Saxony can actually conquer it themselves. And when we check, we find out, yes, we're at 48% moral authority because Saxony hasn't won a conquest war. It would have been fine if Saxony hadn't won a conquest war, though, because the county to our right, Kaki Salmi, I have no idea how it's pronounced, also has a temple. So if we needed 1% more moral authority, we could just walk one further right and pillage that one down too. But everything goes smoothly, we immediately send them back and disband them, and then we have decisions to make. Because you kind of need to burn time for levies to replenish, and you don't get to burn time in speedruns, which makes everything really awkward, because he has, what? Something like 7,000 max levy counting his vassals, and I've got something like 4,000? 4,500? It doesn't look good. And I can't imagine winning that, so I'm like, I guess we just style Ulster Gotland, and I bet you out I need to think more than that. So, forever later, in real time, I've looked at all the numbers for a while, I'm like, I've got to fight Ulster Gotland. I have to beat them in a war if I'm actually going to win this. I just don't have enough men to beat Zealand. And if you can beat Zealand, you might be able to beat my time. But you might not, because this is complete bullshit what's about to happen. Like, honestly, if somebody else gets, like, second place to me, they should feel like they won anyway, because this isn't fair. See this? Oh wait, no, that's just me beating their commander, that's fine. Don't worry about that, that's not bullshit. What is completely unfair is this. In the first battle versus Ulster Gotland, I capture the king. So the war ends. First of all, I don't have to fight the war. Huge time save. Second of all, I don't deplete their troops, which means I don't have to... I just have way more men than I should. Of course, they do kind of hate me. But this gets into us using that land we just conquered with our conquest wars to convince people that, like, hey, maybe I'm a good guy. At the very least, it convinces them that they should fight my wars for me, which is all that really matters in the end. Friendship is grossly overrated. And here I spend a while looking through all my stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I can actually sway him. I put him on my council, I give him Finland, but that only gets him to like 8 positive, it's nothing near a guarantee. So I give him the second thing that I conquered, whatever it was, and now he's up to 87, dude fucking loves me. And I'm considering what I need to do, like who I should give honorary titles to, and it's like, it's time to go, because there's a trick I can do here. A very short-term, no long-term goals trick. I declare war before I finish giving everything out, and then I raise my levies, because I'm actually going to give away the counties that these levies just came from. This is going to get my second biggest vassal, who is worth like 1,000 troops on their own, to love me enough there's no chance they bail on the war. And I can only do this once, I can't give away 2 of my 3 counties, because then there's a chance I just get, you know, instantly sieged out of the war. I can't take that risk. Unfortunately, I forget something awful. I forget to give out my honorary titles. So everyone should have had like 10 more opinion of me than they have right now. And you can see me here clicking through everyone and be like, oh no, I fucked up big. Because in game I realized that I haven't done this. I remember thinking just, oh god, what have I done? I've wasted the run, I've fucking ruined it. Everything was perfect, and no one likes me enough to help me. Because all of these guys should have had more opinion of me. And sure, some of them wouldn't have come anyway. But I lose out on like, I'm not going to do the math, because on my end, this vex is very tiny. It's like 2,500, 3,000 troops that I'm just missing, and I was outnumbered to begin with. And for the first bit of this war, I'm just on full tilt. Like, I'm making bad decisions, moving to the wrong places. I didn't even realize that battle was about to happen. And like, shit, we have to go over and stop it. And we can't possibly make it there in time. What am I even talking about, right? And here, I just don't know the map. I don't think this is tilt. He's just like, look how fast that was. He's instantly gone. But at this point, I just stop for a bit and breathe, and I'm like, alright. We still haven't lost this. I've messed it up really badly. You can see in the bottom left, one of my vassals just went off and done his own thing. And he's really successful. I think like 1,000, 1,500 troops just trickle into him and die for no reason. I realize that they're coming back towards me and that I have river bonuses and vassals coming, so I just stop and let him walk into me. And this is what I was talking about when I said, I messed up bad when I didn't take Berserker. Because a couple of times here, I'm leading, and I have to take fights. Like, there's just a chance you die at the end of this run and you lose all your piety. Because you're disadvantaged in the war. You need your best commanders there, and you're your best commander. It's awful. And here I actually choose to try to duel again rather than losing a leg. I had a run, not as good as this one. I actually fought Ulster Gotland, where I lost because I lost a leg in like at the start of the final war, just like that. And then it got infected and I died almost immediately, and my son has no piety, so I can't reform the religion. And here, we're just like chasing down their smaller armies. Shattered Retreat is on because we have to use all default rules for this challenge, which results in this situation where we've beaten all their armies, but we can't kill any of them. And at that point, it's sort of just a clock. I need to assault all their shit down and get enough war score before they can regroup and have big fights with me. Not because I can't win the fights. In this run, I actually win the war convincingly, and we'd probably win if everyone went head-to-head. But in other runs, where, for instance, Ulster Gotland actually goes to war with you, you wouldn't be winning so convincingly, and there would really be a clock before Zealand's army gets back together and stops you. Also, there's just the constant clock of, this is a speed run, you gotta go fast. So at this point, I have a 6k Doomstack walking around, and Shattered Retreat, it turns out, has sent most of their armies back into Denmark proper. So on their way out, I'm catching them, I'm assaulting holdings down with my 6k Doomstack. The war is actually over from here. And since a lot of why it's over is related to how Shattered Retreat works, I want to talk about Shattered Retreat a bit. I think this run actually went notably faster because Shattered Retreat is on. That said, that is not me saying Shattered Retreat is good. This run has convinced me that I hate Shattered Retreat every bit as much as I thought I did. It doesn't feel like it shatters them, or that they retreat. It feels like they just invincibly regroup somewhere far away and I can't stop them from doing it. I don't know what it's meant to represent in-game, but it feels really bad. So, I'm really proud of the general strategy I have with this run. That said, easily the biggest part of this run is getting Ulster Gotland basically for free. I shouldn't have it that easily. Like, it saves me a year, and it makes the war against Zealand really easy. But we're done. That's them conquered. This is the Fylkirate being made. Here I'm actually trying something out. There's an Easter egg where you get the title High God if you pick Dogmatic, Divine Marriage, Temporal. In the threads I was reading, the second doctrine wasn't mentioned. I'm assuming it doesn't matter. It looks like it doesn't work with the Norse, you just get titled Fylkir. I was hoping you could be like a God King Fylkir or Fylkir God King, but it looks like you're just stuck with Fylkir, and if you want cool titles like God King, you have to play less badass pagans. I'm going to quickly reload the game here as opposed to unpausing the time so that the map will update and I can become the Fylkirate. And a weird thing that I don't understand, in a second I'm going to dismiss my troops. And when I do, it's going to put my Fylkir crown on, and I have no idea why. It's looking like it's about time to wrap this up. This has been fun. I really enjoyed this. There were some seriously bad misplays from me. There was also some ridiculous RNG. But none of that matters, because 2 people have already beat this time with Denmark strats. I'm currently in 3rd place with a time of 3 years, 9 months, and 30 days. Which puts me behind Pope Glitterhoof VI, who's coming in at 3 years, 7 months, 11 days. And Infernal Justice is currently winning at 3 years, 4 months, and 9 days. They're both using Denmark strats that I don't fully understand. Big shout out to Nia for originally posting the thread. This has been rather incoherent. I've had a good time, I hope you have too, and hopefully I'll see you around.